Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of All the WrestleManias. We've got a special request, so we're jumping back in time to review WrestleMania VIII from 1992. You actually just heard the special hard rock remix radio version of our theme song. A composer and co-host Rich Sigwald has been working hard on those, so send us your thoughts and comments on our theme song. As always, I'm your co-host, Tim Hackman.
And I'm your co-host, Rich Sigwald.
So we got a request via our Facebook page, All the WrestleManias. You should go and like it right now and follow it and look at all of our fun stuff. From Nick O, who asked us to review WrestleMania VIII. Now, we'd previously done a write-up of that show for the blog, back when we were doing the long written blog posts. But we are, of course, more than happy to have the opportunity to sort of rewatch these specials and talk about some of these matches, and, put them out here for your enjoyment. So thanks very much for the request, Nick, and thanks for listening.
We had discussed possibly doing some flashbacks to some of our blog entries and revisiting some of these early WrestleManias and do them as a podcast. And it made us feel good that someone requested us to go back and do this. And WrestleMania VIII is particularly a great one to go back and look at. There's some amazing moments in this. And this is pretty much from the golden age of WWF, in my opinion.
Oh my God, is this a good one, actually? I started watching, I'm like, okay, I wonder what I'm going to remember about this. I'm like, holy crap, this is an amazing WrestleMania. So again, thanks very much, Nick. We spent a very happy 3 hours rewatching this one, thanks to your request. So before we get into the show, do we have any listener mail or wrestling news to cover?
I think there is some important wrestling news with AEW right now is on a tear.
Yeah, for sure.
Announcing on live television that they've purchased Ring of Honor, and then also possibly negotiating a streaming deal with HBO Max.
Yeah, and both of those things are a big deal, obviously. We saw what we thought maybe would be the last Ring of Honor show ever back in December here in Baltimore County. It was a fun show, but it was also a little bittersweet because we have enjoyed the Ring of Honor shows over the years, and we're sort of, kind of bummed about the thought of it maybe going away. So I'm pretty excited about some of the possibilities with Ring of Honor. I think there's some opportunities to kind of give the guys who aren't quite ready for the primetime television a chance to really work some stuff out on TV. Ring of Honor has a lot of great talent affiliated now and in the past that I think they can draw on. And, if we're lucky, we'll get even some more wrestling on TV, which I'm always a fan of.
Right. And there were some great talent still in Ring of Honor when they ended, especially them boys.
Yep.
We might finally get some resolution to the boys versus FTR kind of feud that's been happening on Twitter for the past
We better
year.
get something.
And just some great possibilities and matches. And I look forward to a possible title unification.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Gresham's still there.
Yeah.
Of course, Jay Lethal was sort of the last big one to jump over to AEW.
It's just a really exciting moment, and I'm happy to see Ring of Honor possibly saved, and I hope some of their production ideas and concepts rub off into AEW and help the product get better.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing, the news item that we just had to mention is that Scott Hall, of course, Razor Ramon, has a broken hip, so we're sending him our best wishes for a speedy and full recovery. He's a legend. We hope he's doing all right.
Yeah, feel better, Meng.
All right, so let's get into WrestleMania VIII. This is from April 5th, 1992 at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, Indiana. Attendance came in at 62,167, and it has two taglines to kind of indicate its double main event. So the first one is Friendship Torn Apart, ! Referring to, of course, Sid Vicious and Hulk Hogan. And the second tagline is the Macho Flair Affair, also ! And that one sort of sells itself. The runtime on this one is 2 hours and 41 minutes, so sub 3 hours. Hooray for that.
Refreshing.
Very refreshing, and it moves along pretty briskly, I gotta say. What else was happening in 1992, Rich? Do you remember? You were like 4.
No, I was 12, thank you very much.
Okay.
I was just poking around at what was the other things happening in pop culture at this time, and this is a banner year for movies.
Yeah.
Wayne's World came out this year.
Swing.
Basic Instinct. Swing.
Swing.
White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Lethal Weapon 3. Patriot
These
Games.
Lethal Weapon 3 being the second best Lethal Weapon after Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah, that one's good. Batman Returns.
Nice.
A League of Their Own.
Hmm?
Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Unforgiven.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Last of the Mohicans. And a classic that my wife and I both enjoy, Under Siege.
Yes, Under Siege. That's a fucking great movie. Die Hard on a Battleship. My wife's look. I have a Under Siege 2 story. If that's not jumping ahead too much, Under Siege 2: Dark Territory. My wife's cousin actually was the guy that drove the train for that one.
That's insane. You never
there you
told
go.
me that.
I know. So I'm not saying I'm famous, but I'm sort of famous.
Assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups.
Anyway, John Gotti was also sentenced to life in prison that year. The Mall of America opened. Again, we're not saying those things are related. Hurricane Andrew removed Florida from the map of the United States, and it was never heard from again. The Cartoon Network debuted, and we signed NAFTA, and people haven't gotten over it yet.
Yeah, it was a banner year here.
All right, so let's get to the show. We get a nice version of the national anthem from Reba McEntire to kick it off. This is something we've talked a little bit about. We kind of missed this pageantry on some of the most recent WrestleManias that we've watched. I mean, not to take anything away from Limp Bizkit or Saliva, but they just don't have quite the same feel to start off a show.
I actually had like an epiphany about this while trying to fall asleep the other night. And so I think we need to think about how like professional football, baseball, basketball, hockey, they all start with this national anthem, normally the Star Spangled Banner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of something that people associate with sporting events. And I think as the WWF/WWE moved away from viewing their product as a legitimate sport and moving towards sports entertainment, they wanted to separate themselves out visually and audibly from legit sporting events, for lack of a better term. And so I think that might be why we lose some of the patriotic gallantry and the spectacle of the national anthem or America the Beautiful being sang by a celebrity or something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. It's sort of a difference between, like you said, a sporting event and like an entertainment spectacle. Because by the time we get to, WrestleMania 18 and 19, which we most recently talked about, those are not sporting events anymore. Those are entertainment extravaganzas or whatever you want to call them, complete with Saliva and Limp Bizkit.
America's band.
America's favorite band. So we've got Gorilla Monsoon, Praise Jeebus, and Bobby Heenan on the commentary here. Bobby's taken over the Jesse Ventura heel commentator role. I think we love Bobby Heenan. We are founding members of the Bobby Heenan fan club. He's always amazing. And he and Gorilla have really awesome chemistry together, I think. So how many times do you think we'll hear, "Will you stop?" or "Will you be serious?" during this WrestleMania?
I lost count.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Will you stop that? Nonstop.
Spoiler alert, Bobby won't stop, and he won't be serious.
No.
And that's okay.
I mean, he starts off pretty quickly saying that Reba McEntire is Tito Santana's sister, Reba McEntire.
Oh my God. I missed that somehow.
Yeah, it's like through the entire first match, he's just like, his sister sure can sing, and Gorilla's like, "Will you stop that? That's not his sister.
Will you be serious?
Are you kidding me? Reba McEntire, she's a heck of a singer." Like, he doesn't stop.
I think that's probably better than Jesse Ventura's constantly calling Tito Chico, I guess, huh? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Though according to Ventura, Tito Santana liked it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And thought it was funny. Sure, we believe you.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura is obviously a very reliable narrator. So, well, our very first match is Tito Santana and his Matador gimmick versus Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. This is actually Tito's first return appearance to the WWF. He had taken some time off, and it's his first appearance as the Matador. He was away in 1990 and 1991 and came back for this particular WrestleMania and with this new gimmick. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I love Tito Santana. Um, I may have mentioned that I have a cameo from him that I treasure. I get inspired by it like every other day or so. Just watch it, feel Tito talking to me, feel him filling my soul with light and positivity.
Whenever Tim is watching it, do not make eye contact with him. He gets
No,
very aggressive.
yeah, don't. But he's. I'll just rave about Tito. He's a big, strong guy. He's fast. He works really smooth. He bumps and sells really well. He lays his shit in, and you always root for him because he seems like the last truly decent man in wrestling. I think
He is the consummate face.
he really is.
I can't imagine him as a heel ever. Like, I can't imagine like Tito suddenly getting on the mic and being like, "Listen here, Mean Gene. Shawn Michaels is an asshole." Like, whoa,
Yeah.
you
You know
know,
who sucks? Indianapolis.
right?
Oh no.
Like, there are no bunch of football teams stealing, cow eating, jerk face idiots.
Crossroads of America, railroad bullshit.
Middle of nowhere shit town. No, I can't imagine Tito Santana doing that.
The works of Kurt Vonnegut are overrated. Tito, no. No, it would have been a complete waste of his abilities. And I also will say, as much as I like him by himself, I actually like his Matador gimmick. I like the tights and the boots and the jacket. But he's a guy who never needed a gimmick.
No, but we're getting to that period of time in WWF where everybody's got the side hustle. Everybody's got to have a gimmick. They're pulling people out of their slice of life to come fight for them.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we'll have a garbage man, and we'll have a prison guard / police officer again at some point.
Yeah. Well, he's here. He's here in this one, along with the Mountie, along with
right, yeah,
the Repo Man, along with who else is in our along with whatever's wrong with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I don't know if that's a gimmick or that's just his face.
We have an accountant.
Oh yeah, of course. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote a little bit about that on the blog, the side hustle gimmick, how nobody could just go by their name. They had to be something or other. So let's see what else. This is also the first solo Shawn Michaels WrestleMania. Obviously, he was previously part of the Rockers with Marty Jannetty, and like Florida after Hurricane Andrew, Marty Jannetty, never seen or heard from again. Shawn comes down like the heel that he is and always should be, because he's an a-hole.
Because he crushed our dreams when he laid that super kick into Marty Jannetty's kisser and put him through the glass window.
So
that
bad.
Dick.
You can't be called the Heartbreak Kid and have a theme song that says "I'm just a sexy boy" and pretend like you're a good guy. I ain't buying it.
Speaking of his theme, I'm pretty certain that's Sensational Sherry singing it.
Really?
I think so.
Or are you messing with me?
No, if you listen to it and then like listen to her voice, I'm pretty sure it's her.
This is before he sang his own theme, right?
Yeah.
I know that Jimmy Hart wrote that theme, and he has said it's his favorite one of the many different things that he's written over the years.
I mean, it's a good one. He did a good job with this theme, but I just don't like the guy that it's attached to that much.
No, we hate him. I'm also excited that Sherry is here. She always brings it. This isn't her peak WrestleMania. I forget. I think it's 7, where she's in like 4 out of the 8 matches, and she's like just
causing chaos nonstop
the entire time. She should have gotten like 6 paychecks for that WrestleMania, but she's still here. She's great. She's decked out as Shawn's like MILF / cougar manager, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's some sort of uncomfortable relationship between them. Mrs. Robinson situation, possibly.
Yeah, I was grossed out a little bit, but more about Shawn because he's gross. But she struts around the ring with such a sneer that it hurts my feelings.
Yeah, she doesn't have to say a damn thing, and you're like, oh, I hate her, and I feel horrible.
Yeah, Tito at one point gets kind of laid out on the floor, and she walks up and like walks around him, and like I was sure that she was going to do something to him, but then she never does, which actually ends up being more effective than if she had like smacked him with a chair or something.
Oh yeah, it's totally effective, and like she's way into like just the posturing of
Yeah.
mind games as opposed to actually interfering most of the time. There's a fan ringside giving her shit, and they've got a microphone or something. Like you can hear this one fan screaming, "You got what you deserve, Sean." And also screams, "Go home, slut," or Sean.
Wow.
I can't really decide which or make out which one this fan said, but this fan is going ballistic and is just right on the microphone somewhere covering the ring that you hear every single word this person says.
I thought, what happened to Midwestern Nice? That ain't right. I realize we haven't actually talked about this match. I like this
We
match.
haven't talked about this match at all.
I like. Did you like this match?
I did, and part of the reason why I loved it was that this is getting late in Tito Santana's ring career,
Yeah.
and this is early in Shawn Michaels' ring career. And Tito is going step for step with Shawn. There is not a misstep, a missed angle, a missed spot, or anything, and it's ridiculously impressive between these two.
Yeah, he's an athlete for sure. He does some. He has some of his standard moves here. He does that high crossbody that always looked so good. He does that like flying fist thing. I think they called it like a paso doble or something like that. I didn't quite catch it on the commentary. There's just some really stellar action here. I didn't particularly care for the finish. Tito tries to pick Shawn up over the rope, and Shawn just kind of like falls on top of him and gets the pin after Tito being on top like pretty much most of the time.
I don't think the camera covered what happened exactly. I'm pretty certain that like Sherry did something outside the ring, like held on to Tito's leg or something like that, and that caused Shawn to fall on top of him, and then she also kept Tito from getting the leverage to kick out.
Oh, that would be just like her.
Yeah, so and like you can tell by like where she is and then where the ref is that it's all something fishy is happening there, and just the camera didn't catch it very well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't catch it either, obviously. So, but that's a great start to this WrestleMania. From there, we move on to a live Legion of Doom promo that come out in the middle of the crowd with Mean Gene. Paul Ellering's back to manage them. I wrote down that Paul Ellering actually quotes Chris Christopherson's song "The Pilgrim," Chapter 33. Did you catch that?
No.
It's a song that Chris wrote about Johnny Cash. It's the one, he's a poet, he's a picker, he's a prophet, he's a preacher. He's a something and a problem when he's stoned. But the line that he quotes is, "From the rocking of the cradle to the rolling of the hearse was the going up worth the coming down," which is a great goddamn line. But, Chris Christopherson's a great writer, so.
I just want to point out that like the crowd doesn't give a shit.
No.
Because the crowd has no idea who the hell he is.
Yeah.
They don't know the NWA like history of the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering. I don't think anybody really cares that Paul Ellering is there, and it's odd that they use like this time on a WrestleMania to announce it.
Yeah, and they make a big deal about it. The Road Warriors / Legion of Doom go on and on about how they've got this guy back now, and their things are going to be different, and this the missing piece, and up onward and upward from here. So, yeah, but I agree, the crowd could not be bothered by this at all. From there, we get a backstage Jake the Snake promo, and you know how we feel about Jake the Snake promos. He starts off by calling President Jack Tunney senile, which made me chuckle. There's a sort of video recap of his feud with The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. There's some shenanigans with trapping The Undertaker's hand in a coffin and beating him with a chair. We wrote about this on the blog quite a bit, but his sort of understated, kind of whispery promos are so good. Like, they're really unparalleled, I think. And to end this one promo, he says, "When the time comes, I will hook the head. I will drive him into the mat. I will put the final nail in your coffin." Like, God damn, Jake.
I doubt he's like sitting in the back just writing that stuff down, like pondering it. That just probably came to him at the mic. That's impressive. But we shouldn't undersell The Undertaker's promos either. The Undertaker doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
And so it was so earth-shattering when finally Jake confronts him at one point and asks him, whose side are you on anyway, Undertaker? And Undertaker just comes back at him, "Not yours."
That's pretty badass.
Oh my god. It's like, and it's obvious that like this has replaced any kind of useful knowledge in my brain, that I remember that promo specifically. I remember the moment. I can picture it in my head. I can replay
Yeah,
it back at any time I want. Can I tell you the capital of Massachusetts or Maine or North Dakota?
Moose Town, I think.
Not right now, but
Oh,
I can tell you that the Undertaker told Jake, "Not yours."
that actually could be a line from Unforgiven. One of the best movies that came out in 1992. When Clint says, "Deserve's got nothing to do with it," or "We all got it coming, kid." I think this is why the fans tune in to the show, to hear these amazing impressions that we do.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're great. They're as good as my Chris Jericho impersonation.
Please, yeah, and your Moondog spot. Don't forget your Moondog spot from the Wrestling Classic. Thank you, Moondog. Back to you. All right, so let's get to the match. We got Jake the Snake versus The Undertaker. This is Undertaker's second WrestleMania appearance, so nobody's talking or thinking about the streak just yet. He made his debut at the last WrestleMania against Jimmy Snuka, which was fine. To me, this is a sort of classic early Undertaker match. He's got sort of the big man approach, but also he's got some really impressive agility and some of his flying clotheslines and that kind of stuff. What did you like about this match?
I love early Undertaker because he's never in a hurry to get anywhere, and that kind of sells into his gimmick that he's a dead man and that he doesn't need the rush. He's got all of eternity to do whatever he wants, and you can keep pounding on him. He's just going to keep getting up, and he's going to keep coming at you. And it's a great gimmick for him, and he does such a good job of just like pacing around the ring and like making all of Jake's offense look futile, because he just doesn't stop coming, and he just keeps getting up, keeps pounding at him, and Jake lands a DDT on him. He sits up, lands another DDT on him, sits up, doesn't stop, and then eventually the Undertaker tombstones him on the outside of the ring, which is cold. Like, the Undertaker was very brutal back then compared to what other wrestlers were doing. It's how he gets in trouble with the title, when he tombstones Hogan on a chair and stuff like that. Like, you didn't see people doing a lot of that stuff back then, and the Undertaker just like was completely cruel and mean then, and it was very enjoyable to watch Jake fall victim to that. Even though I do love it when Jake whips out his snake.
Yeah. Well, and he's been forbidden by President Jack Tunney, who, again, is senile, from bringing his snake to the ring in this particular case. So he didn't have that help. If maybe it would have helped him somehow, I doubt it. The dead just really aren't afraid of snakes the way that other people are. That's one of their primary marks against them, honestly. Yeah, no, this was a great match. I think when he kind of rolls Jake back into the ring. Jake looks like a freaking bag of potatoes. He just looks like everything's been beaten out of him. After he hit him with that second DDT and the Undertaker still sat up, you're like, oh shit, Jake, just take a powder, man. Just head to the locker room. But it was too late.
Yeah, so Taker's 2-0.
2-0.
So far, his best WrestleMania match.
Yeah, for sure. Jake's theme song is amazing too, by the way. I should have talked about that at the top. I think on the blog you said it's the auditory equivalent of Viagra.
His song, Arn Anderson's song at this time too, is pretty hot. I got a theme for wrestler theme songs. So Jake's is hot and is pinnacle late 80s, early 90s instrumental music.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't dug that up and sampled it or something, because it would be a badass backing track for some things.
Oh yeah. People would just be taking their clothes off.
Yeah, maybe that's why they haven't. Like, they're too afraid.
Yeah.
Well, we get to another actually a really good promo here. There's a Bret Hart and Rowdy Piper are backstage with Mean Gene in their preparation for the match they have coming up. This is fantastic. Rowdy Piper is going on about how he's known Bret his whole life. He's loves Bret's family, but then he keeps like throwing little jabs in there, talking about, oh, I've known Bret since he was yay high. It's like, oh, he wasn't potty trained till he was 7, but that's okay. Make me laugh.
Yeah, this is one of the best backstage WrestleMania segments ever. I'd place my money on just the back and forth between Bret and Piper, and how it really makes Piper seem like the veteran teacher almost and family friend, and Brett is the brat that's wanting to fight his way up and get out of the shadow of all those that came before him kind of feel to it. And you get chills watching this promo. And you remember suddenly how good Roddy Piper is on the mic again.
Yeah, it's really great. And Roddy looks fantastic here too. He like tanned, his hair's like perfect. I know he was headed off to Hollywood, so this is sort of his quote unquote retirement match. But of course, we know that's not really the case. But he was headed out to do Hell Comes to Frogtown, and They Live, and have a big slugfest with Keith David in the alley, of course, and They Live. But yeah, so this is sort of a farewell match. So there's lots of like goodbye Piper and thanks Piper, those kinds of signs in the crowd. He comes out to the Maid of Fife EO. Brett gives the glasses away, of course, because he's a nice guy.
Yeah, and then when Piper actually gets to the ring and it's like his shirt's off and stuff, it's like he is cut. He is looking ripped. To quote Ali Wong from her most recent special, you can see his King's Hawaiian bread rolls of abs. And yeah,
bread.
I know he was not eating much bread before this match.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't have those
to look that way
things, because I eat all the bread. Yeah,
that's the only reason.
So these guys start out. This is a fairly clean match. There's not really. I mean, I guess Piper's always the heel a little bit, but there's not like a real hard heel face dynamic here. Would you say?
There eventually is, but right. No. So like this match starts off very technical. They're trying to keep it clean. They're doing their best to like. They don't want to hurt each other. They just want to out strategize and beat the other person. And that kind of goes to hell when Brett, to escape a hold instead of any kind of reversal, just goes running at the ropes and uses momentum to throw Piper off of him and out of the ring. And that's when Piper snaps, and that's when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, Roddy did not like that at all. He came back ready to fight then, and right, it goes from a wrestling match to a fight, becomes a brawl, and Brett starts getting color pretty quickly right after that, and he is bleeding all over the place. So, and the announcers keep asking whether or not he's busted open, but like there's blood on the front of his uniform, on the back of his uniform, on the mat. There's blood on Piper's chest and arms. I'm like, if you can't see that somebody's bleeding up there, I don't know what the hell you're looking at, but like it doesn't look good at all.
Probably some of the fans got blood on them at this point. Like
it's flying.
Brett hit an artery and is pumping it or something, and it's just a mess. And these two tell such an amazing story in the ring in this match too. From the transition from technical wrestling to a brawl, and then kind of bringing it back to technical wrestling, but then brawling again, and like just going back and forth and just trying to hurt each other eventually, but then pulling back. And it's really quite a textbook match that every wrestler should watch at some point in their life.
Yeah, it's great. So Piper nails Brett with a bulldog, which is one of Brett's, sort of favorite moves. I'm like, oh shit, he's pulling out Bret Hart's playbook here. There's a sunset flip. Piper throws good punches. I think that's something that's sort of maybe underrated. And I noted that every time he hits him with any kind of move, Brett just bleeds more and more. Like in those short punches, like there's just more gore flying.
Yeah, they're working a little stiff, and he's trying to open up that cut for real on Brett. And so that's making things look better and even more convincing. And then that dramatic moment where Piper grabs the ring bell and hops in the ring and is like contemplating hitting Brett with it, and you can see on his face and his like bodily motions that he is torn. He doesn't know what to do. Does he want to win, and does he want to hurt Brett, or does he want to just back off and try to win this straight? For a title match, there's a lot more going on, and it makes the title feel secondary, and that's an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, it's great. And the family dynamic, I think, so obviously both guys are Canadian. And I think, Piper was telling the truth at the top, which is that he has known the Hart family for a long time. They've obviously seen the kids grow up. He knew Stu Hart. And so being tied in that way gives it a lot more, gravitas. And when he grabs that bell, and Brett is kind of like flopping around on the ring, sort of like kind of pathetically, like trying to reach out to Piper's legs. You know, Bobby's over there on the mic screaming, use it, hit him. But, you know, the facials from Piper is fantastic. So
I thought they also did a great job of really making them seem very similar. Like the storytelling also made them seem like they're just like two sides of the same person almost. Of like both of them had very short fuses and could be set off very easily. Once you make them angry, they're angry at you forever, and they're going to hurt you and do everything they can to fight you. It's just, I can't say enough about this match of how great it is and how it has a lot of stuff that a lot of things in the future are missing.
Yeah, 100%. So for the finish, Piper slaps a sleeper hold on Brett. Brett kind of like kicks off of the turnbuckle so that Brett and Piper go over backwards, and then Brett kind of ends up on top, pinning Piper's shoulders to get the win, and makes him the new Intercontinental Champion. And then Piper takes the belt from the ref and sort of lays it across Brett's shoulder. He's laid out on the mat, you know, leaning against the ropes. He can't even pick himself up anymore. You know, Piper helps him up and straps the belt around his waist, and then they help each other from the ring, and he's calling for help for Brett's bleeding head and kind of like motioning to his head. I'm like, man, what an incredible finish.
And this is the closest to being a face Piper ever gets.
Yeah. And after this, he was immediately back to being a jackass. All right. You ready to move on?
If we must.
We just make this the all Bret Hart and Roddy Piper hour, I guess. So we move on to a remote promo with Lex Luger. He's on his way over, I guess, to WWF at this time.
What the fuck are they doing with this?
I don't know.
Like, the World Bodybuilding Federation, okay, great. I know that was some sort of thing that WWF was trying to get going, but really it just turns into like Lex Luger being a dick.
Yep.
He fat shames Gorilla Monsoon multiple times while chugging milk. It's really weird. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit into like WrestleMania whatsoever.
Nope.
And I just don't understand what they were doing.
Also, he's like, I'm here in my home, and you can tell it's clearly a hotel. Like it's the hotel furniture and furnishings and drapes and stuff. Like, come on, Lex, we ain't buying it. Yeah, no, he looks like an overstuffed potato. He's sitting on the little weird sofa thing there. He's so large and muscular, and like, I don't know. I don't get it. It's weird. So next up is stupid gimmick promo time in preparation for the 8-man tag match we're about to see, including some of those side hustle gimmicks we're talking about. So this one is the Mountie, one of the Rougeaus, the Nasty Boys, the Repo Man. Those guys are with Jimmy Hart, and they're going to be up against the Big Boss Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Virgil, and Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter is no longer an Iraqi general. He is back to being American.
That was quick. Thank God that wrapped up.
I had pointed out when we blogged about this how quickly some of these folks fell from grace. That at the prior WrestleMania, the Nasty Boys were the tag team champions, the Mountie was Intercontinental champ, and Sergeant Slaughter was the World Heavyweight champion. And now they're in like an early mid-card 8-man tag for absolutely nothing. There's no stakes on the line whatsoever.
Yeah, it's this is nonsense. There's not really much to say about this. I will say it's useful as sort of one-stop shopping to kind of see some of those big stars of the late 80s and early 90s and these kind of, you know, one-off kind of goofy gimmicks. I want people to never forget that Repo Man is Barry Darsow, formerly Smash from Demolition. Again, one of the biggest tag teams the WWF ever had, and now he's demoted to running around in a hamburger mask with a fake towing hook, I guess, that he's gonna, I don't know what he's gonna do with it. He doesn't have a tow truck.
No idea.
Whatever.
Yeah. And you have the Mountie, who's a cop, but he's bad.
Right.
And then you have the Big Boss Man, who's a cop, but he's good.
Well, the Mountie's Canadian, so
that son of a bitch.
Yeah. How dare he? He says a bunch of French stuff, probably.
Ha ha ha, oui, monsieur, I have some split pea soup for you and a baguette. And I go to the Louvre to look at the art.
This is the worst French accent I've ever heard. That's okay.
I don't like you.
The guest announcer for this match is Ray Combs, formerly Family Feud host. He says the word survey during his intro like 50 times, just so we can all be aware that he's on the Family Feud, which has a survey gimmick. So you guys just be aware.
Ray Combs has never watched a day of wrestling in his life.
No, absolutely not.
This. That's very clear.
Absolutely not. So how would you rank your Family Feud hosts, Rich? Any ideas?
I would probably put Steve Harvey now up at number 1. Probably followed by Richard Dawson.
Okay.
And then Ray Combs. Then Louis Anderson. Louis Armstrong, Jesus.
You guys remember when Louis...
Skies are blue.
Services. You guys remember when Louis Armstrong hosted Family Feud?
Yeah.
Richard Karn is last, right?
Yeah, I mean,
John
Al
O'Hurley
is terrible. The Richard Karn, please, Jesus Christ. John O'Hurley, at least, he was funny on Seinfeld, and that made me remember when he was, Family Feud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Steve Harvey just because he makes everybody feel like idiots on that show. And
that's true.
That's what you need in a show like that anymore.
I'm a big fan of this, like the sort of supercuts of Steve Harvey, just looking perplexed by people.
Yeah, all of his gifts are amazing too. So,
all right, people didn't come for the sparkling commentary on game shows. They came for things like, the Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage match that's coming up next.
Yeah, I mean, the less we say about that tag match is probably the better. I mean, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing happening. There's some really ugly spots, and yeah, that's all you need to know. And Virgil pins Knobs from the Nasty Boys. That's all we got.
Oh yeah, I didn't even write down the finish.
Yeah.
But also, Repo Man is smash. # never forget.
Demolition was awesome.
They were awesome. They scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Repo Man is shit.
Demolition would kill and eat Repo Man.
Demolition is great. I don't understand how you can have 3 people in a tag team, but
it's the Freebird rule, Rich.
Yeah, I guess so. But I still, Demolition was amazing. I prefer them pre-Crush.
Same.
If I have to choose between Repo Man or Demolition with Crush, I'm taking Demolition with Crush.
I would even take Crush solo over Repo Man.
As long as he's in the leather bondage.
Yeah, right.
Not the Surfer Crush.
No, I don't like Surfer Crush.
Yeah, Doink was right.
We don't have to talk about Doink every episode,
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, this is Ric Flair's WrestleMania debut, so that's kind of a big deal, right?
It is. So Ric Flair, at this point, had just jumped over from the NWA, and there's some fascinating stuff that happened when he did that. So Ric Flair was the champion, was the NWA heavyweight champion at the time, and when he signs with WWF. And so he leaves, and for his bit of time in WWF, he's still carrying around the NWA belt and claiming to be the real world heavyweight champion. And apparently the NWA sued him to try and get the belt back. But the belt belonged to Ric Flair because when you won the NWA championship, you had to pay a $25,000 deposit for the belt. And NWA did not refund that money back to him. So the belt belonged to Ric Flair. So NWA loses their lawsuit against Flair, and Flair keeps the NWA heavyweight belt.
Wow. And I mean, at this time, obviously, the dream match that everybody talked about for years and years was Flair versus Hogan, right? Like, who is finally the best of these two promotions, the two biggest ones? But we never get that Flair Hogan until much, much later.
Apparently, at this time, they were doing like house shows together, and as WWF was testing that out, and the matches just never went over well. Nobody really liked them. They didn't get a lot of pop on them. And so WWF decided it wasn't ready for prime time and never really put it together.
I mean, that actually makes sense. Like, their styles are just worlds apart. And it's actually sort of the difference in the WWF style versus the NWA style, I think, almost more so than the individual guys. And so I could see that not working particularly well at this point.
Yeah, you have that. Plus, both men's match style is they sell. They sell to the other guy. And so if neither one of them has an offense, because I mean, Hogan, he just gets his shit beat for like 5 minutes, and then he punches the guy he shakes his head, punches the guy 3 times, ropes, big boot, leg drop.
Yep.
You know, Flair, he gets beat up, he gets thrown and flipped over the top rope, he gets thrown off the top rope from the turnbuckle, and then somehow reverses it into a figure 4, or gets a dirty win with a foreign object or feet on the ropes or something, and that's it. So Flair is nothing but the heel version of Hogan, and so you can't really put them together if both guys are known for just selling.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. It'd be like that joke about like the soccer players, right, where they just like they both kind of like fall down and grab their ankles at the same time. So, so anyway, so this is Rick's WrestleMania debut. Randy Savage looks amazing. He goddamn sprints to the ring. He's got these like black and gold. There's tassels flying everywhere, and he just like jumps right into it. He scares Flair out of the ring at first, but then after that, they go to war, and this match is friggin' intense. I didn't take a ton of notes on sort of the individual points. Maybe you have a few more than I do, but like Flair bleeds like a stuck pig throughout this thing. Both guys fly over the top rope like completely horizontally at various points.
Oh my God. Yeah, the back body drops over the top rope are spectacular in this match.
They're amazing.
Macho Man, I think, goes into orbit.
Yeah.
On the one that Flair sends him on. And then Flair equally, gets like 5 feet of air over the top rope on a back body drop out of the ring, and they both land hard on the floor, and it's amazing. And you have all of Flair's signature moves that we just discussed, of like being caught off the top rope, being flipped over the ropes when sent into the corner, taking his front bump, his delayed front bump is always great. Macho Man pounds the shit out of him. Flair is landing some solid, tight chops, but this is really before everybody gets into the woo with the chops. But you can hear some people doing it.
Yeah.
Those that did follow him over from NWA. This match is a show stealer, as usual with Macho Man. If Macho Man isn't fighting Hogan in the main event, Macho Man's having the best match of the night.
Yeah, and this is sort of tagged as a co-main event, and it's far superior. Like it's night and day to how much better it is than the actual quote unquote main event for this particular event.
Hogan's ego is in the way. I think there's no reason why this match isn't at the end, except for that Vince is still convinced that Hogan is the moneymaker, and no matter against who he's fighting. And I think he's just plain wrong. The crowd is more into this match. I was more into this match. The setup for this match actually is what leads to the Hogan Sid match too. And like so the belt is vacated with Undertaker and Hogan having shenanigans. And so Jack Tunney announces that the winner of the Royal Rumble is going to become the next champion. And so at the Royal Rumble, you're down to the final 3, and it's Flair, Sid, and Hogan. And Sid and Hogan kind of eliminate each other, and they're screaming at each other, "You're my best friend, you're my best friend, blah, 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 blah." Meanwhile, Flair is running down the aisle with the belt and is the new WWF champion. And I felt bad for Flair that like he gets like no celebration out of it, because everything is focused on Hogan and Sid crying in each other's arms.
Lame.
But yeah, so we still get blessed with a Macho Man versus Flair match at WrestleMania. And this one is for the ages.
Yeah, thank God it is here. One other thing I wanted to mention, I think a lot of folks think of the Macho Man as kind of the big move guy, the big elbow, the music, the acrobatics, the kind of, the fireworks, right? And his crazy promos. But I think one of the things that stands out about this match is actually how good technically he is too. There's a ton of, the figure 4 leg locks and then reversals and small packages and all kinds of like really cool moves. And when we watched the Wrestling Classic a couple weeks ago, we talked about, of course, him doing that crazy,
oh my God, yes,
that crazy finisher. And so I think sometimes he kind of gets overlooked a little bit in terms of really talented and skilled technical guys.
Yeah, Macho is very well skilled and definitely was put through the paces. He was well trained by his father. He's got lots of experience at this point in the ring too, and he matches perfectly with Flair, who's another veteran at this point. And you put those two together, two technically solid talents, but also kind of opposites in their skills. And you're just going to have a spectacular match. And then you throw Mr. Perfect in,
Yeah.
who's
We
on the
didn't even
outside
talk.
of the ring.
Yeah. We
And
didn't even
he's
talk about
causing
Kurt.
chaos. And his blocking of that moment where him and Macho have each other and the ref is between them. And then Kurt pulls on Macho a bit, and that causes the ref to go down. And in that motion, he also throws brass knuckles perfectly to Flair. Like, he hits Flair in the numbers with him, and Flair just grabs him. Like, he is Mr. Perfect. He does everything perfectly.
Yeah.
There's so many things could have gone wrong with that spot. Flair is on the other side of the ring. He's 12 feet away.
Yeah.
And he throws a bullet directly into Flair's arm with the brass knucks. And it's perfectly out of sight line, so it's completely believable that Macho Man and the ref didn't see him do it. It's an amazing moment.
Yeah, I agree. Remember they did all those promos where he was like hitting a golf shot perfectly or hitting a basketball shot perfectly. So he's Mr. Perfect. What are you going to do?
I know.
So Macho Man gets sort of a dirty win here, grabs the tights, which we've talked about before, about whether or not that's actually illegal. Of course, Heenan won't shut up about it after the fact. And Savage grabbed a handful of tights. He had a handful of tights. I'm like, all right. Like,
I mean, that's a Savage finish. We've seen Savage finish that way multiple times.
I don't know if he knows how to pin anybody any other way. I think it's just part of his move.
Yeah, if he doesn't land the big elbow for the knockout, it's going to the tights.
Yeah. And everybody decamps to the locker room, and we get a really awesome locker room interview with Flair and Perfect and Heenan. Sean Mooney is back there to interview him, and Kurt Hennig just like barks at him. He's like, "Shut up, Mooney."
It's so good.
I've seen this like 4 times now. It makes me laugh every time.
Like, the celebration out of the ring as well for Macho Man winning is terrifying. The fireworks all explode at once or something. Like, Elizabeth's dress nearly catches on fire, and like Elizabeth looks completely terrified, and like it was scarier than like Kenny Omega's exploding ring of death with John Moxley. Like, I was legitimately concerned for their safety when that pyro went off.
Yeah, no, they didn't plan it very well, whatever it was. But yeah, Flair looks out of his mind in that promo. He's got blood all through his hair. His eyes are, as big as saucers. He's just yelling and yelling and yelling.
And then Macho cuts a promo after that, and it's a post-match promo. He's all sweaty. He's tired. He's limping, and he doesn't blink once during the promo. Like, his eyes are like saucers, and he's just like screaming and talking. And just like, I don't care what Ric Flair has. I don't care what Ric Flair is going to do. I'm concerned for his health and safety. It's so scary.
All right. So are we done with these guys? So easily another just 5-star match in the midst of WrestleMania 8 here.
Yes. This one was spectacular.
Would watch again. Next up, we're on to Tatanka versus the model Rick Martell. And as much as I love Tito Santana, I hate Rick Martell equally.
That bastard,
because he betrayed Tito Santana when they were the Can-Am Express. I will never forgive him. It's as bad as Shawn Michaels kicking Marty Jannetty, and
it's the breakup that we never saw coming. It's unfathomable that these two could not get along anymore.
I know. So anyway, it's very disappointing. So I hope he loses every match ever until the end of time. Tatanka, I know you were a fan of Tatanka back in the day.
I was a fan of Tatanka, and I had lots of issues with what they did. I mean, one, this match was filled with signature WWF racism in the color commentary, with Bobby Heenan constantly going, "Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?"
Jesus Christ.
But then Gorilla Monsoon counters back to him and says, No, Tatanka is very intelligent and very well read.
Oh no.
So
that's not any better, Gorilla.
No, and so that was some uncomfortableness. But I also, in general, just had issues that like Tatanka had this massive winning streak. He won over 100 matches in a row on television, and never gets a belt put on him. He never gets an Intercontinental belt. He never gets the World Championship belt. Doesn't get the women's belt, or even or normal belt to keep his pants up. He doesn't get one. Like,
yeah.
How does someone win over 100 matches in a row on television and not get anything?
And he was good too. It wasn't like he was just popular, but he was shit. Like he was really solid. And there's some good work here in this particular match. Yeah, I don't. That's a sort of perplexing chapter. I will say. So first off, Tatanka is of North Carolina Lumbee descent. So he's a genuine Native American. This isn't a gimmick like Chief Jay Strongbow or some of the others that we've seen over the years, where they're like actually just like Polish German guys from wherever.
I think Strongbow was Italian.
Yeah.
And Vince Sr. was just like, I need an Indian. And I think that's actually pretty much how the story went.
Get in there.
He's been promoting this event where you can meet the one-man gang and Akeem the African Dream.
Wait a minute. Is he gonna like put on the outfit and like turn around and like, it's me, Akeem, and then take it off and like put the other outfit on?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe during the even hours you'd be one man gang, and during the odd hours you'd be Akeem the African Dream, or like, and takes like a 10-minute break in between to change outfits.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know how he's pulling it, but I'm impressed.
Well, I mean, I'd be even more impressed if George Gray managed to get 2 paychecks, for showing up as both characters.
And he should get double pay.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Well, I mean, what if there's like 10 people who really want to go and see Akeem, and there's like 10 people who really want to go see the one-man gang, that's 20 tickets that you sold for different people.
Damn right. Smart. That's smart.
Yeah. I'm a wrestling genius. Anyway, there's some fast action here. Both these guys are really good in the ring. Tatanka gets the win. I don't care. Anything else?
Yeah, I was kind of distracted by all the racism with it.
Yeah.
Though, like, I don't know if they thought like having the legitimate like Native American tribes doing some dancing would make it better. I don't even think they were from Tatanka's actual tribe, and so it's just kind of like, they're Indian.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing about that is, so they start out in the ring. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Showing they're doing their traditional dance and stuff. And then it like sort of just goes immediately from that. You see that for maybe 10 seconds. And then it goes to Rick Martell in the back cutting a pretty racist promo. So
promo was not good either.
So the crowd got to see the celebration, the culture and stuff. But the rest of us got to hear Rick Martell talk about whatever. All right, we've got a tag match coming up next. We've got Money Inc. That is Ted DiBiase and the IRS with Jimmy Hart facing off against the Natural Disasters, which is Earthquake and Typhoon.
So listeners, if you haven't noticed, this pay-per-view really hits a peak with Flair and Savage and Piper and Bret Hart. And then there's all the air is just let out of this event with Tatanka and Rick Martel, and then the Natural Disasters versus Money Inc. And it's just, it becomes a grind to try and finish this show, to be honest with everybody at this point for me. But yeah. I'll do my best to talk about this match.
Yeah, I agree. It's really kind of like, ugh. And then you look at the time left and you're like, ugh. But it's weird. We talked a little bit before about how it's weird to see the Natural Disasters as faces, especially Earthquake was such an amazing heel. His initial monster run in the WWF where he just squashed people figuratively and literally for what was like a year. Like he just went around and stomped on everyone in his way. And so this, I don't know. I think to me, it's a stretch to try to make him into a good guy.
Yeah. And there's some interesting things that like, it doesn't make sense to me is that combined Typhoon and Earthquake outweigh Money Inc. by like 200 to 300 pounds, probably. There's some really big guys, but they're not fighting like they're monster big guys. They're selling like crazy to things that Money Inc. and Ted DiBiase are doing. And it's not like they're doing like drastic moves to try and hurt them. It's just, they're just moves. And it doesn't make sense for Typhoon and Earthquake. Both of them outweigh Mike Rotunda and DiBiase by 100 pounds each, at least. They're both a head taller than their opponents.
Yeah, they're huge.
And yet DiBiase and IRS can hurt him. Hurt them significantly throughout the match to where there's false finishes and stuff. Like, this match just didn't make sense to me. It didn't look right. And I'm kind of glad that like Money Inc. wins by a deliberate count out where they just like decide to leave, because I would just leave.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going home.
I'm going to get hurt out here. I got to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think so. Ted DiBiase and Mike Rotunda are amazing talents. You know, so again, sort of technical guys, lots of ring experience, really able to put together compelling matches. Mike Rotunda is until this point is actually this is the longest stretch between WrestleManias, I think, for a performer. We saw him in the very first WrestleMania in the U.S. Express, where he was with Barry Windham, and then he's off for a long time, and we see him back here as IRS with Ted DiBiase. But they could 100% have good or better matches with guys who were sort of maybe closer to them in size and ability. And, you know, not to take anything away at all from Earthquake and Typhoon, but this is not leaning into their strengths at all. So, and also I think with the finish that they had in mind here, which is where the Money Inc. kind of takes a powder and gets the count out, it would have made a lot more sense if they had been getting their asses beat the rest of the time, right?
Right. That's the thing, is that they weren't. They were in control for a good portion of this match, and then they lost control, and that's when they decided to leave. But like, it wasn't like they were really, really out of control, because I mean, there was like a bullshit moment to where Ted DiBiase and Typhoon land a double clothesline on each other, and they both go down. It made no sense. Like,
that is not how that's going to go.
no, Ted DiBiase throwing his weight at a man that weighs 150 pounds more than him with his arm, like they're both going to go. No,
Yeah.
Ted, your arm is going to fall off and dislocate, or you're going to go down, and Typhoon's just going to stand there looking at you.
Yeah, and then you're going to die.
Right, and then like maybe Typhoon then like sits down on his butt because he's just tired, but it's not. That didn't make sense. There's these things that just. I didn't understand what was going on in this match, and yeah, go ahead and just walk away from it, Money Inc. Ted DiBiase, I wouldn't talk about this match ever.
Yeah, we recommend the viewers actually walk away from this one as well. And I will say the crowd is not into this one, and I think they're starting to feel the slog a little bit too. So after that, we get a Brutus Briefcase promo. He's not really he's not wrestling yet. He's back from his parasailing accident, so he's his face is different than you may have remembered from the earlier WrestleManias.
Yeah, he quote tragic boating accident.
Yeah. He got smacked in the face by somebody's legs who was parasailing. And I don't know, it depends on your stomach for medical stuff, but I don't recommend reading about that accident. It sounds like really bad. Like his entire face was obliterated. It was put back together with all kinds of screws and plates, and so here he is.
Yeah, it sounds like it was worse than Fabio taking a goose to the face on that roller coaster.
Almost assuredly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next to last match, thank God, is Owen Hart versus Skinner. It's probably going to take me as long to say the title as it took to actually do the match.
I don't understand why this match is a thing. I don't understand.
Well, so I think, a couple of these early WrestleManias, there's this sort of habit of scheduling this kind of weird throwaway match, like right before the main event. I don't know if they, need time to, clean the bathrooms or what.
It's still part of like the whole, like getting talent on camera so they get paid. Like so like they still do it now to where they get as much talent on camera during WrestleMania as possible so that everybody gets a payday. So that's why like you just get like shots of like 30 wrestlers walking around backstage and stuff in between matches. And I think this is just the old style version of that. And it goes back to wrestling's origins out of vaudeville and stuff, to where they would cram as many acts into a show as possible during vaudeville. And if you got on stage, you got paid, and that's how it worked. And so, by the way, that's where the term break a leg comes from. They would wish you luck by hoping that your leg would get seen on stage. If your leg broke the curtain line, you got paid. So break a leg.
Is that true?
That is true. I'm not lying to you about this one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of gullible, so you could tell me whatever. So
yeah.
I love Owen Hart. You love Owen Hart. I hate his rodeo clown pants. This whole thing is a waste of time.
Well, this is when he was tag partners with Coco Beware, right?
Oh, yeah. I would Let's just not remember. I think if this match does anything, it maybe gave some inspiration to MC Hammer's costume designer.
Owen deserves a lot of credit for this match just because he lets Skinner spit tobacco juice in his face at the start of this match.
It's disgusting.
And it's like a large amount. It's like Great Muda green mist amount of shit that he lets Skinner spit in his face. And so I wish Skinner would have actually gotten his ass beat and not just rolled up and 1, 2, 3 and out the door they went. But Skinner can suck a dick for spitting tobacco juice in my man Owen Hart's face.
All right. Good to know. All right. Are we ready to talk about the main event?
I guess. It's not a main event.
It's not a main event. On the blog, we wrote at length about how Hogan is actually a heel for much of his 80s heyday. The way he sort of acts towards his supposed friends is awfully shameful and egotistical. He plays the victim when they get tired of his shit, and he gaslights people. In Sid Justice's case, he went from Sid Justice to Psycho Sid as a direct result of Hulk gaslighting the shit out of him. So obviously Hogan is going to win this quote unquote main event match against Sid Justice. But I think in the interest of justice, Sid Justice, Hogan should get the snot beaten out of him.
Actually, he kind of does. This is like the first match that we see Hogan really getting physically dominated for the most part. Sid choke slams him, which is impressive. He does like a sidewalk slam on Hogan. This picks him up like a bag of ice from 7-Eleven and puts him down like no problem. Like Hogan's a big guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not John Tenta earthquake big, but Hogan is no lightweight, and Hogan is tall and long and heavy in all the right spots. Tall and heavy in all the right spots.
We should edit that.
But Sid just manhandles him around.
Yeah, he really does. I don't know, these guys. It's kind of it's sort of a long, boring match. Honestly, that goes into starts with a long, boring section where Sid's kind of continually running away, and then we go into a long, boring test of strength. The crowd is chanting, and Hogan starts to hawk up, but then we go to a long, boring, giant neck nerve pinch a la Andre the Giant, and drives him down to the canvas and keeps him there for like what seems like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's convincing when Andre does it. It's
right.
Not convincing when Sid does it.
No, I mean, and he's huge, right? He's a strong guy, I'm sure, except in his lower legs.
But he's not Andre.
But he's not Andre.
The Hogan selling, especially near the end of this, where he goes down and he's twitching like he has spinal damage, and I put down that it's a mix of hilariousness, freakishness, and it's kind of insulting. Like, is that what he thinks like people that have suffered spinal injuries do?
Yeah, they twitch all over the ground. So, as the child of an epileptic who has witnessed many seizures through my years, I have mixed feelings about that bit. So,
and he does it frequently, and
he does.
I just like I don't know. Like, do you think people act like fish when they're hurt?
I don't know. I don't think Hulk Hogan has met many like actual people. So I don't. I mean, we go through all of that, and then obviously eventually he gets the Hulk up, and he does his his usual sequence of moves, but Sid kicks out. He kicks out of the big leg drop. What the hell?
How amazing would this WrestleMania have been if Hogan lost this match?
Man, that would have been the best possible outcome.
The crowd would go silent. They wouldn't know what to do. They literally would not know what to do because, I mean, it's telegraphed through the entire storyline. Oh, well, this is just another friend of Hogan that Hogan made angry, but it's being sold that Sid turned his back on Hogan and is no good now. And so Hogan's going to eventually win the payoff match, blah, 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 blah. But what if he didn't win this one? Like, imagine this is possibly Hogan's last WWF match, he says, and he loses this, and the crowd goes silent, and all those kids crying. Like, it's the end of this would end Hulkamania. This would have been it.
gets physically dominated by a guy who's much larger than him, and then it just puts him away. You would have had people driving into bridge abutments on their way home from the show.
You would just have like, I don't think the people would have left. They would have just sat there,
just camped out,
going like, "What do you mean it's over? That's the end. That's isn't that's the end of WrestleMania? That's
is he going to come
it?
back?
Isn't
Is he going to? Yeah.
Isn't what? No, Hogan can't lose.
I
What
don't
happened? And then like just crying and like people writing notes to their loved ones.
know. Dear mother, it has finally happened. Hulkamania has ended. We are in tears.
People just hugging and just so sad. Maybe I won't watch Saturday Night Main Event this week. They could have crushed WWF if like Sid won this match.
Maybe I won't go to college. What's the point?
I know Hogan lost. I can't. I ate all my vitamins and I said my prayers. I don't know what to do.
I even did the training. But instead, that's all like all stuff that could have been, and that would have been amazing. I think we would be living in a different timeline now if that had happened. But instead, what we get is Harvey Whippleman interfering, and the bell rings to disqualify Sid. And then for some reason, Papa Shango, a.k.a. the Godfather, a.k.a. the Good Father, a.k.a. Charles Wright, comes in and attacks Hogan. And then... Get hype. Here comes the Ultimate Warrior, making a triumphant return to save Hogan.
And everybody collectively shits their pants.
The crowd flips the fuck out. So right before the match, there was like, there were signs or like, "Come back, Warrior. We miss you, Warrior," blah, blah, blah. And here he is.
Because Ultimate Warrior was significantly more entertaining in that brief little period of time that he was there, of like that psychotic fever dream promos that he would cut, and like the shaking and the rage. And he beat Hulk Hogan without killing Hulkamania, and the fans needed him, and he came to their aid.
Here he is. Yeah, so he comes in and saves Hogan, and of course they have a little show of mutual respect and posing and steroid appreciation or whatever they're doing at the end. I hate this match, and I hate the ending. The Ultimate Warrior coming out is a genuine surprise. I think one of us chose it for our oh shit moment when we did the blog post on this, because it's, everything looks pretty bad for Hogan, and then here he comes. And that's kind of exciting, but the rest of it is hot garbage.
It's really just like a down point. I feel like this entire match, like, I don't understand Papa Shango coming out. I mean, honestly, I haven't watched every single bit of wrestling at that point again to understand why Papa Shango's showing up. I don't understand why they thought Sid was going to be a good opponent for Hogan. I don't understand why they chose to have a disqualification finish to end the double main event WrestleMania. Like, if that had happened and it had been the first main event match, if they had swapped the main event matches and this ending happened then, totally fine, and this is a much better show.
Yeah, for sure. Put this in the middle of the show, like you said. It would have bumped my rating up probably like half a star at least.
Yeah, Hogan just can't handle not being in the last match of the night.
Yeah,
but to not give this a finish, I mean, it feels like they may have wanted Sid to win this match,
and they couldn't get Hogan to agree to it.
Right? I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah, maybe it's a good question. Well, and we've seen kind of Hulkamania sort of overtaking actual good booking at the last WrestleMania, number 7, which also has a shitty main event against Sergeant Slaughter. And if neither of those events had happened for Hogan, I think we'd all still be okay. We'd still remember him fondly.
We didn't need Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. We didn't need Hogan versus Sid. Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior is actually like a great ending to Hulk Hogan's story.
Yeah, it's sort of a passing of the torch too.
Right, and it's a shame that Warrior didn't pay out. And then they had the same idea that they would do this with Lex Luger, and that's the whole reason why they did like the Lex Luger body slamming Yokozuna and the Enterprise or the Intrepids deck and stuff like that on that 4th of July special. And then like how he went from the narcissist to the all-American Lex Luger, and again Luger didn't have the charisma that Hogan has. And I don't even know what really makes Hogan Hulk Hogan. I don't understand It's some sort of intangible that no other wrestler has had since. Like, there's no denying that Hogan has this like immediate appeal and draw, and I don't know if it's just like how into him the kids were, and so like that youthful energy coming from the crowd just is addictive, and no other wrestler had that except the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, maybe.
I
I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason nobody else works.
Right.
They try the same formula with Ultimate Warrior, they try it with Lex Luger, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
So, are we ready to pick our superlatives for this WrestleMania?
Yeah, I guess so.
So, best match. Well, are you going Brett versus Piper, or are you going Savage versus Flair?
I think I'm going to stick to what I said in the blog and say Flair versus Macho Man. That was that match. Boy, the drama, the spectacle, they're all over the place. They fought each other. There's technical stuff. It was back and forth. You legitimately didn't know who was going to win that match because you could see it going either way. You could see them carrying on with Flair with the belt. You could see them carrying on with Macho Man with the belt. Now, the only thing that made it a little obvious that Macho Man was going to win was that the stipulation was that if Flair won, they were going to release naked pictures of Elizabeth. We knew that wasn't going to happen.
Damn it.
You know, it's still, and it's a sleeper match. Like, you don't hear a lot of people talk about this match in the lore of WrestleMania. You don't hear people talking about, man, Flair versus Macho Man. That was such a great match. It's one of the best title matches in WrestleMania history. You don't hear that sentence said much.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
it deserves that kind of attention.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. I have a hard time picking in this one. I think Brett versus Piper also sort of telegraphs its finish in that same kind of way because we know it's Piper's sort of farewell match and he's off to Hollywood or whatever. So it makes sense for him to lose this match. So you kind of know where it's going before you start. And also Brett is on his way up, and it just wouldn't make any sense to have him beat by an old timer who then is going to take off. So that part kind of maybe puts a crimp in the drama a little bit. But I think I'm going with Brett versus Piper. One, because, Bret Hart is my all-time favorite, and I will watch literally anything he does ever. And two, because I think the storytelling there is just so excellent and so heartfelt, honestly. That's a weird term to use maybe with wrestling, but I think it really applies. And then three, for just sheer blood loss.
Oh, yeah. The matches. Oh, my God. Brett does bleed more than Flair in this match. Barely.
He does. Okay, so maybe we didn't talk about this, but who bleeds more, Brett in that match or Austin in Brett and Austin's famous match?
Oh, I think Brett bleeds more in this one, but we don't have the amazing visual of a bald, stone cold Steve Austin screaming in pain in a crimson mask while in the sharpshooter.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough call. So what about your worst match?
Boy, it's tough between the 8-man tag and Hogan versus Sid for me, actually. Hogan versus Sid did present some things that you're not normally used to seeing, and that's Hogan being physically manhandled. But then Sid looks really crappy trying to powerbomb Hogan. And if Sid had legitimately really convincingly landed that spot, that would have been amazing, and that would have taken this match out of this contendership. But I think I'm going to go with the 8-man tag, and that's just because there was absolutely nothing there entertaining me. I had no interest in it. It had no meaning to the show, and it was a vaudeville moment of trying to just get faces on camera to get paid.
Yeah, I mean that's there's a couple strong contenders here. It would be tempting to go with that really waste of an Owen Hart versus Skinner match. But of course it's Owen Hart, so I can't give that the worst match. I think I have to go with the main event for the reasons that we talked about. I think it's a pretty clear example of Hulk Hogan's ego kind of ruining stuff for the rest of us, why we can't have nice things. The ending makes zero sense. It doesn't fit with anything that's going on, and the match itself is there's just not a whole lot there to recommend it. So
yeah, how about your oh shit moment at this?
So I would say Ric Flair flying over the top rope to almost certain death on one of those back body drops.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're so spectacular.
So I did in our blog post say that the Ultimate Warrior showing up out of nowhere was a no shit moment, and it's a great moment. It's a great WrestleMania moment of the Ultimate Warrior suddenly appearing back in the programming. But I think my oh shit moment is going to be changed now that I've rewatched the show again. I've actually watched it twice since we wrote this blog post. So I've watched it 3 times in the past year now. And twice in the past week.
Wow.
And
that's how dedicated we are here at all the WrestleManias.
Yeah. Partially because I went to get a snack at one point and missed something. And so, but I think I'm going to go with the moment of Piper standing over Brett with the ring bell and seriously contemplating what to do. And he shows such emotion, and it's a shame he doesn't show that emotion when he's actually doing like movies and stuff, because he deserved an Oscar for this moment, but no other acting moment. But he's standing over Brett and he's just like looking so pained, and he's not sure what to do. And the crowd is screaming at him to give Brett mercy, but he's like, I want to win. And he doesn't know. And you can see him going back and forth and like over and over and over again. And then he decides not to do it. And that moment is one of the most compelling WrestleMania moments, at least in the first 10 WrestleManias. It's like one of the best storytelling moments, and probably in the top 5 or 6 of like all-time WrestleMania storytelling moments in the ring that we see is Piper debating whether he should brain Bret Hart with a ring bell and finish him or not.
Yeah, it's weirdly beautiful, if that's not overstating it a little bit. It's emotional for sure. It's a great moment. So, all right, overall review and rating. What do you think?
I gave this one a 3.5 with the blog. Having watched it again now twice in the past week, I'm probably gonna have to lower it down to a 3. I think that main event was worse than what I thought it was, than what I remembered. The Hogan versus Sid was worse than what I remembered. I understand why Hogan decided that's not his last match, because it's shit. It's a shit match. And he cannot let that be his legacy. The Owen versus Skinner waste of time. The waste of a tag championship match. If it wasn't for Brett and Piper and Macho Man versus Flair, nothing on this card is spectacular. Nothing is good. And those are the ones that keep it at a 3.
Yeah, I would agree with a 3. I think that's what I gave it when we reviewed it originally as well. So I think, right, obviously the two, those 2 matches are the main event, are the big draw here. I think the other ones that kind of helped keep it afloat for me are Shawn Michaels and Tito Santana, and the Undertaker versus Jake the Snake. Those are all solid appearances by those 4 guys who we like. Well, 3 out of 4 of those guys. The rest of it is not great. So proceed with caution, I'd say. Maybe mild to moderate use of the fast forward button. Catch the promos, catch those matches that we mentioned. Skip the racism, skip the 8-man tag. Do the every 30 seconds version of the main event, and I think you'll be good to go.
During the Hogan match, you can feel free just to get up and go pee or get another Coke or something.
So as we do every episode, we like to end by paying tribute to the men and women who we saw in that episode that are no longer with us. Howard Finkel, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Owen Hart, John Earthquake Tenta, Miss Elizabeth, Macho Man Randy Savage, Big Boss Man, Sensational Sherry Martell, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Paul Bearer, Animal and Hawk from the Legion of Doom, The Ultimate Warrior, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, Mean Gene Okerlund, Family Feud host Ray Combs, and Lord Alfred Hayes. Alrighty, so that wraps up our retrospective episode on WrestleMania VIII. Again, thanks so much to Nick for the question and for the suggestion that we rewatch this one. We're really glad we did. So you can find us on Twitter at WrestleManiaPod. You can find us on the internet at www.allthewrestlemanias.com. That'll take you to our primary podcast page on Podbean. You can also find us at allthewrestlemanias.wordpress.com, which is our original blog, which has some additional content that you won't find on the podcast. So send us your comments at Twitter or shoot us an email at WrestleManiablog@gmail.com. Until next time, thanks for being with us.